Hey guys, Gruff here with an overview of my 1v1 commander deck. Sygg, River Cutthroat, played under dual commander rules. I want to first thank a few people on MTG Salvation who have helped me develop my deck into what it is today. Chimera, 3 Drinks, and Chongsen, all of their input has been pretty helpful in forming the deck and shaping it into what I have right now and developing its effectiveness and competitiveness in the format. So let's start with the general first. I already have him on screen. Sygg. He costs 2 blue or black or 1 of each. Super flexible. Doesn't require a lot of mana fixing to play this deck, which is especially helpful in this format as games are pretty quick to begin with. His ability is super powerful. Being able to draw cards in a singleton format is essential, and having this type of engine that basically says if you're winning, you're drawing cards, and since you're drawing cards, you're winning more. He's just wonderful. He's got 1 power, 3 toughness, which isn't awesome, but he doesn't die to bears. And he's black, so he's got protection from most black removals, Sands, Go for the Throat, and Ashes to Ashes, and a few here and there that I won't mention. I only play about 20 some odd creatures in the deck. After reading through Chimera's thread, I kind of decided that low-cost, evasive creatures were the way to take this. So I have what I call my Flying Men package, which also kind of steals from Edric. So we have the original Flying Men, 1/1 evasive flyer for 1. His functional reprint in Zephyr Sprite. The beefed up version in Jace's Phantasm, who is functionally the same, except if a player has 10 or more cards in their graveyard, it gets +4/+4, which makes him a great beater. I've run these cards because one of the cornerstones of the deck is Bone Splitter and a few other artifacts that enable these low power creatures to swing in for 3 damage unopposed and trigger Sygg's draw at the end of the turn. This makes the deck super aggressive and very fast. The last one in the 1 mana slot as far as creatures go is Delver of Secrets. 3 Drinks was just talking about this. He is kind of inconsistent, but the power that he brings to the table early game is on its own level. Nothing really compares for a 1-drop on turn 2 if he flips. With that being said, if he doesn't flip, he kind of acts as a dead draw as just being a 1/1 dude, but he still carries a sword or an axe for that matter, so I believe he should stay. Next up I run Vault Scourge. He kind of fits into the Flying Men package as well, because you can just pay 2 life for Phyrexian mana. But not only does he fly, but he has lifelink, which is super helpful in this kind of deck, which originated as a kind of suicide tempo deck. So there are lots of situations where you will lose life, and being able to regain it through this card is amazing. Next up, another 2-drop. Looter Ilkor, 1/1 Shadow. He loots a card, or filters a card for that matter, every time you get through with him. Shadow is all but non-existent in other EDH decks as far as I'm concerned. So there's going to be very few opportunities for an opponent to block him, enabling you to filter out through your cards during a game. Very useful. Another 2-drop here is Inkfathom Infiltrator, kind of like the bigger brother of Looter Ilkor. He can't loot for you, but he is unblockable. We don't really care about blocking with him due to his 1 toughness anyways. Getting any type of equipment on him easily enables you to trigger Sygg by himself. He's very effective. He might not make the cut in the future, depending on what the Ravnica block brings. Again, another 2-drop here. Dothy Horror. Going back to Tempest. 2/1 Shadow, can't be blocked by white creatures. Pretty useful. I guess if there was ever a chance that you would see another shadow creature, it might be in white. So that's kind of useful. I'm on the fence with him. He might stay, he might go. We have another evasive 2-drop here. Tide Hollow Strix. Let me get that in there. 2/1 Flying Death Touch for blue-black. Pretty good value. Give him first strike and he's all but untouchable. Solid defender, even more pressure for your opponent. Up next is Invisible Stalker, hexproof, unblockable. I would say he's more powerful than Inkfathom Infiltrator, but his 1 power kind of evens them out. Carries a sword like a straight up champ. Hexproof, I mean, that speaks for itself. No target removal will touch him. Sans edict effects and mass removal, he's going to be on the table for a while. We have a really great card here, Una's Prowler. 3/1 for 2. Has flying. If your opponent wants to discard a card, that's wonderful for you. Even if you don't get to draw, you kind of set them back a card, which is always advantageous. And again, 3 power to begin with is amazing for a 2-drop. Last of the 2-drops is Dark Confidant, aka Bob. In this deck, my curve tops out at 3, sans Jace the Mind Sculptor. So the life loss generated by Bob is negligible at best, and with Fall Scourge there is an opportunity to regain that life over time, and the card advantage is amazing. Auto include. First of the 3-drops is a classic, Serendib Ifrit. Flying 3/4 for 3, deals 1 damage to you at the beginning of your upkeep. Negligible side effect. Perfect for this deck. 3 power, 4 toughness, early game, nothing's going to touch him. And if something can block him, it'll probably die anyways. Auto include. The next 3-drop on our list, I consider the black Serendib Ifrit, Necrogen Scudder, fairly new from New Phyrexia. You just lose 3 life immediately instead of life over time, which is, I don't want to say better than Serendib, but it's comparable. I'd rather lose 3 life and then never lose life again. Doesn't have the 4 toughness, but he's still solid. 3 damage, he gets us there. I would definitely, if you don't have him in your deck, you should test him out. This next card I stole from Chongsen's budget list, and I think it's very applicable in this deck, Sidrax's Alchemist. He is your black Manivore, in that he's a little bit, he's balanced by the fact that you need a blue permanent, but he's more powerful in that you can bounce whatever permanent you like, as long as it's not a land. That's very advantageous to us. We like bounce, we like gaining that tempo. That's what makes this deck work. Up next is another oldie but a goodie. This is probably one of the only other shadow creatures in the deck, for the fact that he has 3 power. Dothy Marauder, again from Tempest. Sans Burn and targeted removal, probably going to stick on the table and trigger Sygg for you quite a bit. So, not necessarily auto include, but definitely consider him if you don't play him. Trinket Mage. Trinket Mage just works in this deck. Tutors up our main equipment Bone Splitter, as well as Tormod's Crypt, Expedition Map if you play it. Nile Spellbomb if you run that. Relic of Progenitus. I mean, if you can name a 1 CMC artifact, it gets it. And you get a body to put those equipments on too, so that's always nice. And then we have Manowar. Always good. Gets rid of pesky creatures that you really can't deal with, whether that's creatures with pro-black and you can't kill them, or, you know, for whatever reason you just have to bounce a creature and you don't have that bounce in your hand. Manowar is great and leaves you with the body to put those swords on. The last of our 3 drops and the last of our creatures is Hypnotic Spectre. For a while I didn't run Hippie because of his 2 damage, but I realized that the advantages he brings to the table are unparalleled for his cost and his abilities. This is a guy that you can play turn 1 off of a Dark Ritual, turn 2 off of a Lotus Petal. I mean, there's so many ways you can get him into play early. He's early enough by himself, and the fact that an opponent has to discard at random really works in our favor. So I've only been testing him again recently, but I think he's gonna stay in the deck permanently. So next we have our artifacts. I only run, I believe it's like 6 to 8 artifacts. This is a staple in my opinion, Pithing Needle. In a 1 vs 1 format, Pithing Needle is, or should be, required, whether or not it's useful against all decks. Just being able to name any card and shut it down, sans mana abilities, is extremely powerful for the price. And it's being reprinted, so you'll be able to pick them up cheap. They should be cheap already. Runechanter's Pike. I don't have a Jite. I need a Jite. But to fill its place, I run Runechanter's Pike because it's the same converted mana cost and the same equip cost. And it does a lot of good things. This deck runs, I want to say, 30 to maybe even 40 instants and sorceries combined. I'm leaning more towards 30. This gets really powerful really quick, and it will end games. Straight up. You have evasive creatures in this deck that you can stick it on, and it usually means the end of a game in a turn or 2. Not to mention the first strike is nice as well. Another card to fill the void, Trusty Machete. Cheap to play, cheap to equip, gets the damage in, it gets you there to trigger Sygg, and that's usually more than enough. If I had it, I'd probably run either Sword of Feast and Famine or Sword of Fire and Ice in its place. Bone Splitter, the OG, the card that really makes this deck viable in the first place. Being able to equip to any creature and get that 3 damage again is vital to the performance of the deck, and this does it. This is the cheapest way to do it. Winter Orb. Winter Orb can end games all on its own. Once you get into a proper position where you have the game on your side, this is the card that keeps it there. It is very hard for an opponent to run away with the game after this resolves and they're tapped down. I believe this is an auto-include. It should be in every deck. It's seeing play in a lot of aggressive decks because it works. This is one that I've been testing for a while. This is Adventuring Gear. Sorry, let me get that over there for you. I run all possible fetch lands in this deck, and it makes all the difference in whether or not you can win a game sometimes, especially considering the evasive nature of the deck in general, and the fact that I also run Inkmoth Nexus, which can lead to an alternative win. And with the fetch lands, it's amazing. Crack a fetch, your dude gets +4/+4, which is usually a 5-point life swing in your favor. It's beautiful. The second replacement artifact here is Darksteel Axe. Similar to Bone Splitter and Trusty Machete, it's indestructible, so it has to be exiled or part of some sort of mass artifact removal. It's a little bit more costly to equip, but again, it gets us there and it's cheap to play. And it's a tutorable card by Trinket Mage. Another oldie, but a goodie from Tempest, Lotus Petal. Again, I play dual commander rules, so I don't have Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, or Mana Vault in the deck to kind of speed things up for me. I used to also run Mox Diamond, and I might put it back in depending on how things go in the future. But Lotus Petal gets you there. I'm going to be using that phrase a lot. It's free to play. It's a one-time deal. You can get Sygg turn 1 if you have to. You can get a lot of things turn 1 if you have to. Very powerful. Usually allows you to run off with the game if it resolves turn 1. Going on to enchantments. curiosity, this card gets its value from the fact that the curve tops out at 3, no creature costs more than 3, and every creature has, with the exception of Trinket Mage, Mana War, Sidraxis Alchemist, and Delver, who kind of doesn't count, most of the creatures in the deck have some form of evasion, which means this card works no matter who you put it on. And being able to draw an extra card every time you connect is extremely powerful. If this resolves, you have Sygg in play and you're getting that damage, you're looking at 3 cards a turn, every turn. Seal of Removal. This is on the chopping block. Turn 1, it's great. You play it, leave it alone. It never has to do anything until it's required to. And that's where it gains a lot of its power and advantages over other cards that you have to hold in your hand. You can play it when you need to before it gets plucked out of your hand, and you can just leave it there until you need it. So it'll probably stay for now unless some other type of unsummoned spell comparable to Vapor Snag makes its way into the format. Here's a card that's brand new in the deck, but not brand new to the game. This one's up on testing right now. Underworld Dreams. This is another card that falls under the Turn 1 Dark Ritual set of cards that can really set the speed of the game for you. Especially in EDH where with a singleton format, card draw is key. This can do a lot of damage over time to your opponent if it is not answered or dealt with. We'll see how it goes. I've yet to actually get it into play and let it do its thing, so it is also on the chopping block. Up next is it used to be considered a staple in this deck, Standstill. Usually you can play Standstill any time of the game, and it works in your favor. Early game, you may even prevent somebody from playing spells. Usually they end up trying to just get it over with, and you get 3 cards in your hand. Last of the enchantments is Phyrexian Arena. Again, another card that falls under the Dark Ritual rule set, or test rather. 1 life for 1 card. Can't be beat. Might make the cut. I don't want to say that it's redundant in this kind of deck, but there are times where it is purely win more. So we'll see. This is a big chunk of the deck, your instants and sorceries. This deck relies on a lot of tricks and soft counters, as well as a few hard counters. Force Spike, I don't want to say it's a staple, but it is very useful. Sometimes it'll be played along with a multitude of spells trying to counter that last little bit that you need to, and it can get you there. Early game, it just shuts down your opponent. Snap, creature bounce, it untaps 2 lands. Very strong in this deck where you need to leave. You don't need to, but you can leave mana open for a hard counter or something of that nature, or draw a spell at the end of the turn. Very powerful, I love this card. Brainstorm, with fetch lands, auto-include, staple, whatever you want to call it. Put this in your deck. It's no Ancestral Recall, but it's the closest thing you're ever going to get. And no, Ancestral Visions is not close. It has 3 time counters on it. It's powerful, though. Repeal, tempo gain, and card advantage, or card replacement. Can't target lands, but that's not really an issue. If you don't have it, try it. You might like it. Vendetta, very strong, very fast in this format. The life loss is usually negligible and therefore ignored. Destroy target non-black creature at instant speed for 1 black. Allows you to do a lot of things with your mana. You're allowed to hold up a lot of mana knowing that you can kill almost any creature in the game with this spell. Hinders on the chopping block. Under dual commander rules, you can tuck your, or rather, you can put your commander in the command zone if he is tucked into the library. So this might become Dissipate or Forbid, possibly some other type of counterspell. If you don't play with the replacement rule, then yeah, definitely run it in your deck. Go for the Throat. In my opinion, this is at the top of the list for instant speed kill spells in any format. Not any format, but non-artifact creature usually means that you're going to kill something. And it's cheap. Here's a soft counter. Miscalculation. The fact that you can cycle it when you don't need it makes it extremely powerful and advantageous to have in your deck, as well as the fact that it's early game, it's usually a hard counter. Late game, you end up restricting what an opponent can do further on in their turn if you deny them that mana. Stifle gets mixed responses from a lot of players. Some people either love it or hate it, or acknowledge that, or find themselves somewhere in between and acknowledge that at times it's amazing and other times it's straight up trash. I definitely like it. I play against a lot of decks that have enter the battlefield abilities or triggered abilities, such as Animar or Elf decks, you know, with Shiraga Warcaller or whatever it is. Things like that. Oh, and against Shroom and Zur, you know, stopping that can be extremely powerful and will favor you in a match. Some more removal here. Snuff Out. Snuff Out makes its way into the deck because it has an alternative mana cost, and it just happens to be life in a format where you start with 30 life and you can just throw it away to blow something up. Very, very fast and powerful. Mana Leak, another soft counter. Early game, it usually means a hard counter. Late game, Mana Denial. It can get you there. An oldie, Dark Ritual. Very, very potent in this deck. Not only does it allow you to go nuts on the first turn, it also enables you to kind of play risky, I want to say, and still hold up extra mana. The way I use this the most is getting a Mind Shatter for 3 mana, which on turn 3 is extremely powerful because it's usually following up a Hymn to Turak. Again, you know, you can get your Necrogen Scudder, your Hypnotic Spectre. If you're not playing dual commander, you get your Necropotence, which is extremely strong. Phyrexian Arena, Bob, play your general turn 1, whatever. There's a lot you can do with Dark Ritual. It deserves to be in this deck no matter how you play it. Memory Lapse. Soft counter, but probably the best of the soft counters. This is extreme tempo advantage. Forcing an opponent to draw a card they just cast on their next turn is a huge setback at times, if not a setback all the time. Chain of Vapor. This is a card that I don't see anyone else run in their deck, and I don't know why. The fact that you can bounce any non-land permanent at instant speed for 1 blue is good enough as it is, coupled with the fact that a player can sacrifice a land to copy it. That is huge tempo advantage even if they bounce something that you own, considering that they can't bounce your lands. This usually is never responded to, or I should say, nobody ever copies this spell early game. They can't afford the setback from losing a land. Doomblade. What can you say about Doomblade that hasn't already been said? Sucks against a mirror or any deck that runs a multitude of black creatures. Other than that, pretty good. Might switch it out for Dismember. Dismember's very good, but I don't know. I'm just not. It's not that I'm not sold on it. I just don't run it. Remand. I put this just below Memory Lapse as one of the strongest soft counters in the game. They do get a chance to play it again, whatever you countered in the same turn, but you also draw a card, which is very nice, so it replaces itself. And again, it's cheap, easy to cast in a 2-color deck. Delay. This is one of my favorite spells, for the fact that a lot of players that I've encountered don't remember that when their creature comes into play after being suspended, that it has haste, and that can make or break a game for you. It also gives you 3 turns to draw an answer if you don't have one already. Another staple here, counterspell. Again, dual commander rules, can't play mana drain, play counterspell. Vapor Snag. The 1 life from Vapor Snag is usually not enough to trigger Sygg, but it can be enough to win the game, which makes it awesome and infinitely better than Unsummon. From Zen Block, we have Into the Royal. More non-land permanent bounce with a kicker, and the kicker is it replaces itself, which is amazing. From Fifth Dawn, I believe. Fifth Dawn, Condescend. Condescend can do a lot of things for you. Most obvious is counter a spell, but even when you can't counter a spell, you still can scry 2, and while it might leave you behind, you can set up your draws for the next turn and try to answer whatever you couldn't counter through Condescend. From Rise of the Eldrazi, we have Deprive. I don't have Force of Will, unfortunately, so I have to run the hard counters that I do have access to, and I believe Deprive is one of the better cards that fill that role. The tempo loss from bouncing a land usually isn't enough to set you back and lose the game, because you would more than likely be countering something that enables you to time walk, so to speak, especially early game, and play that land over again and kind of balance everything out. So that was the last of the instants. Here we have a few sorceries. I think I run 9 or 10. Starting off is Preordain. This is part of my Brainstorm, Ponder, Preordain package. It's not crazy card advantage, but it is very beneficial to the deck. We don't run top here. We don't need top, so being able to set up your draws is very potent, and being able to draw a card on top of that is an added bonus. Let me go back to this real quick. This is infinitely better than Serum Visions. Don't run Serum Visions. Classic right here, Demonic Tutor. Some people don't like tutors in their deck. I disagree, especially considering Demonic Tutor gets whatever the hell you want for 2 mana during your turn. You can usually... This can seal the deal for you. Up next, we have some early game disruption. Inquisition of Kozilek. One of the best targeted discard spells in the game. Maybe not the history of Magic, but in the game. It's super, super powerful. And it does what it needs to do early game. Late game, it'll usually act as just a way to peek at your opponent's hand, but you never know, you might be able to eliminate something before it gets played. I recommend running this as well as the following card, no matter what version you play. Duress. Usually, our combination of blue and black allows us to deal with almost everything, sans artifacts and enchantments. We do have to bounce to delay the inevitable, but our best way to deal with them is to get rid of them before they hit the field, and Duress does that for you. A little bit of Reanimate here. Unearth. Unearth fits extremely well into my build of the deck because no creature costs more than 3, and if I don't need it, I can replace it via cycling, and that makes it a very strong card to have. Touching on a card that I mentioned previously, Ponder. Look at your cards. If they're not good, get rid of them. Draw a card anyways. Perfect. One of the greatest discard spells ever printed. Hymn to Turak. 2 cards at random for 2 mana is crazy in a singleton format. It's crazy in any format that would allow you to play it. I don't think you'll get away with it in Vintage and Legacy, but I could be wrong. This was out of my deck for a while. It's made its way back in. We're going to see how things go this time. Cruel Edict. Cruel Edict is the only Edict effect I run in the deck because it's the only Edict card I have. If I had Diabolic or Chainers or what's the other one? Geth's Verdict, I'd probably run one of those. Unfortunately, I don't have them, so I'm stuck with Cruel Edict. I'm not sure. I don't think I would recommend running multiple Edict effects. Just because in this format, things usually get out of control pretty quickly, and it won't be as effective as it is in the late game, or in the early game, rather. Mind Shatter. Again, dual commander rules, can't play Mind Twist, and Mind Shatter is the next best thing. And I think Mind Shatter should be in every black deck that plays under dual commander. That's just me. And if I could play Mind Twist, I might even play both. I don't know. Love this card. This is what I was talking about, where turn 3, you pay your 2 black, and then you Dark Ritual to make them discard 3 at random. Super powerful, especially after a Hymn or a series of Inquisition and Duress. Last of the non-land cards, and the only card to go above 3 mana is Jace. Jace is Jace. There's no really further explanation needed, but I will just in case for posterity. Jace is strong, especially in this deck where you have such a great ability to generate card advantage that you can almost exclusively Fate Seal your opponent or use him to bounce your opponent's creatures, especially problem creatures that you can't get through, making Jace very important in this deck. And he does have that win more ability at the bottom. Sometimes he can win it all on his own, and that's why I play Jace. So last we have the lands. I would recommend running anywhere from 34 to 37 lands with a good mix of duals, basics, and tech lands, depending on your budget. These aren't sorted by any particular order other than dual, basic, fetch, and tech lands. So, first, Darkslick Shores. Early game, awesome. Mediocre late game. Not a big deal, but it is a dual. It does fix our mana. It is perfect for this deck. Creeping Tar Pit. It's slow, but it does have that clause in which it can trigger Sygg by itself for 3 mana and draw you that extra card to get you there. Not to mention it does fix mana, although it does come into the battlefield tapped. I've included Reflecting Pool as part of the dual mana type lands. If you have any type of dual in play, this becomes a carbon copy. It's almost a Vesuva in this deck, to be honest. Drowned Catacomb, auto-include, usually comes into play untapped, unless you kept a crappy hand with no basic lands or basic land types in your opening hand. Command Tower, this one's new to me, probably old to everybody else. Fixes mana. And it's only $3. So this should be in every multicolor commander deck. Underground River fixes mana when you need it to, colorless mana when you don't. Negligible life loss in this format, definitely fits the build. Underground Sea, price is definitely an issue with this card, so I can understand why some players don't have it and other players do. I was fortunate enough to have one, or buy one rather, before they were like $140. I got mine for like $86. Auto include, I'm sure that's on everybody's radar. The next best thing, Watery Grave. Going to be reprinted, I assume, in the second or third part of Return to Ravnica. So you'll be able to get them a little bit cheaper when those come out if you can't wait. This one's about $20, I think, depending on who you buy it from. Auto include. Next up we have some fetches. I run all the fetches that can either fetch an island or a swamp or both. So that's Misty Rainforest, Marsh Flats, Bloodstained Mire, Verdant Catacombs, Flooded Strand, Scalding Tarn, Polluted Delta, which can get either. And that ensures that we can get our mana when we need it. We usually need it fast. And then, of course, last but not least, basic lands. I run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 islands. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 swamps. And I apologize, those were not the last of the lands. We have our tech lands. I'm poor. Sands Underground Sea. So for mana or land removal, I run Tech Edge and Ghost Quarter. If you can afford Wasteland, go for it. It is undoubtedly the best non-basic land removal in the game. Ghost Quarter is a little bit more flexible, but it does have that drawback of allowing land to show up in your opponent's field. Tech Edge doesn't have that drawback, but you do have to wait until they have 4 lands to go off with it. And then I have the combo of, I don't want to say combo because they're not, they're just synergized with each other, but Blinkmoth and Inkmoth Nexus. On their own, being able to generate a 1/1 flyer on command is very useful. Inkmoth Nexus, being able to end games on an alternate requirement, is also very powerful. And the fact that Blinkmoth Nexus can pump Inkmoth to get you there is synergy that just doesn't really exist anywhere else besides the original Mishra's Factories and whatnot. Or Workshop, sorry. And then, truly, last but not least, I have Ojuka Bog. This kind of acts as the 7th swamp and your Tormod's Crypt all in one. And I think I mentioned Tormod's Crypt earlier, but it's not in this deck. It's in another one. I think I just run Bojuka Bog here, because I don't think Graveyard Shenanigans are at an all-time high right now. So this should be all you need. So hopefully this was informative for some of you guys that are looking to play Sygg or looking for ideas to shape your current Sygg deck, possibly improve it. Thanks for watching, guys. Send me a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what I can do to improve the deck. And I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Peace.